Hey, Matthew, how are you doing today? It's Terry Lynch. I'm the CEO of Power Nickel. Power Nickel is focused on developing the Nisk nickel sulfate deposit in James Bay, Quebec. We think it's perhaps the best undiscovered nickel story on the planet, and that's what we're here to tell you about this morning.
Terry, good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while. We were talking a little bit more about markets last time we spoke, and naked shorting, I believe. Do you remember that?
Yes, yeah. The Save Canadian Mining Initiative still going strong. We had hoped to get some legislation into the Assembly this spring, but with the election upcoming, they've deferred that until the next election or the next Parliament if they get reelected. So. We're hopeful we can still get some positive things done, but the U.S. is making some moves in the right direction, so perhaps investors will get a fair shake after all.
Wait with bated breath. The system moves slowly, but I'll wait.
Indeed.
Right. Let's talk, Turkey. Like, it's the first time we've spoken about this company and what you're doing here. So let's kind of kick off and remind people a little bit about your background and maybe introduce some of the team.
Sure. So Power Nickel really became Power Nickel just last year. So we changed our name from Chilean Metals. So obviously with a title like that, we were heavily invested in Chile, and we were more of a copper gold explorer. And then we sort of, I guess in the fall of 2020, we had some amazing acquisition opportunities sort of come our way just through networking in the sector, and we were able to buy a really terrific copper gold asset in BC called Golden Ivan in the heart of the Golden Triangle, and we thought that was going to be the new focus, or sort of the twin focus with Chile. And then just before Christmas, I became aware of a company that I was a fairly big investor in called Critical Elements, which I know you know very well, very high-grade lithium operator and development story in Canada. And they had an amazing asset on their books that was just sitting there. This Nisk, which was a nickel sulfate, had a historical resource of about 3 million tons of, I guess right now it's about 1.7% nickel EQ, which is 10 million tons, and you're in business, you're a mine. So I mean, it's pretty rare, as you know, in this space to actually get that much of a head start in an exploration play. So we were able to make a deal with Critical Elements in a way that made sense for them, because they needed to monetize it to create value for their shareholders. And so we basically agreed to option 80% of it by spending $5 million over a period of time, 5 years, and which will probably be done with this year, but nonetheless. And then they got about, at the time, almost 20% of our company. And we gave them another $500,000 cash. So it was a fair deal for both parties. It allows them to operationalize an asset that was sitting there that wasn't getting the attention it deserved, and for us, it gave us a development asset that we could work on. And while we still love our copper gold exploration assets, and we'll talk more about what we're doing with those, it gave us a really near-term nickel asset that we felt at the time that nickel was going to have a good run. I don't think anybody predicted the run it's having. Otherwise, I'd have been buying the shit out of nickel's futures. But it certainly was a timely move for us, and it allowed us to move to a different level of risk reward for our shareholders.
Right. So let's. What are you, like 15 million market cap, right? And you raised a bit. Well, I saw the last bit of money that you raised was sort of last year, middle of the. May-ish, right? 2.2 million, it says there. You haven't raised anything since, right?
No.
So your cash position is what?
About $1 million in cash now.
Right. Okay. So we got to think about how because you got a lot of, that's a big portfolio, right? You've kind of got you got some assets down in Chile as well. You got to think about what you do with those. You were heading one direction with Golden Ivan, and then you've sort of seen Nisk come along and say, well, actually that looks a little bit better for us. So talk me through the management of the portfolio given the cash position today.
Yeah, so that's I think what we decided was that that we basically needed to focus on Nisk as the most quickest, least risky way to advance forward as a company. So with that, we basically drilled Nisk. We announced our first drill results last week, I think, and we're expecting another set of results. It could happen today or tomorrow. It's imminent. It's in the process. It's soon to be kicked back. So that'll be the final set of results on Nisk. And with that, what it'll allow us to do is it'll allow us to get to a new updated 43-101, because we have the resource, because it hadn't been drilled on since 2006, I think, was a historical resource. No reason to suspect it because it was done by Monarch Gold, very significant company. But nonetheless, according to 43-101 rules, it has to be updated. And so this update will happen, and we'll get that released in early Q2, and then we'll have a new technical report. So in our capital structure, we have about 20 million warrants outstanding. That average price around 22 cents. So we think now that we're getting this news out, honestly, this thing is multiples undervalued relative, in terms of you compare us with other nickel resources out there. Nickel in the ground, we're the cheapest by far. And now that people will start to see this as being true and valid, I think we're going to get moving radically north, and that will bring the warrants in. So we'll get some cash that way. The second part of the, how we deal with our assets is we're going to spin off our copper gold portfolio into a new company called Consolidated Gold and Copper. We'll retain 80%, put 20% to our shareholders, and then we'll actually fund the first drill program at Golden Ivan. And cost us about, you figure that whole exercise is going to cost us about $1 million, and that'll then have its own sort of life, and we'll go from there. We think that's the best way to create value for the portfolio. And so Power Nickel will focus on the nickel asset, and Consolidated Gold and Copper will focus on our Golden Ivan and Chile assets.
Right. So on the warrants, what do you if everything goes the way you want it to go? So the warrants could manifest how much for you?
Yeah, about 4 million.
About 4 million. Yeah. Okay. So my initial reaction is that you then have two cash constrained companies. So I'm always intrigued with the way that management moves things forward without diluting the purchasers out of their shareholders with this. Yep. So on Consolidated, spinning that out, there's a cost to that exercise, but maybe there's each of the moment. Copper is going on a run, as nickel is, as you said, and Chile's always hot for copper. So who would be the management team for that, and who would be responsible for driving that?
Initially, the management team for Power Nickel will maintain the management of Consolidated. The one thing I find with the junior mining market, and especially in the exploration side, the science in this case, usually we have like a geologist in Chile, and et cetera. But generally, you develop your scientific approach with your in-house geologist and with your geological team, your consulting and geological team, and then you execute it in terms of drilling. Having a staff of thousands is a great way to bankrupt your mining company and dilute shareholders forever. So we've always been very lean. And even like one of the great benefits of working with Critical Elements, on Nisk, was we were able to sort of tap into their deep entrenchment in the Quebec geological circles to pull together a killer team that works externally for us to model the deposit, to drill the deposit, and we've been super happy with that. It's a very effective approach. At some point, once you start to prove that this is going to become the next Chilean Metals, you'll have to staff up and get deeper and do that. But then you're going to have a lot bigger market cap to work with and a lot more capital. But until then, you need to be focused on both putting the money in the ground, advancing the science, and showing that it's really got the merit to potentially be online.
Right. So let me be clear. So with regards to the board, you're not taking two salaries. It's a case of there'll be two companies, and you're nothing's changed there. It's not a mechanism for paying yourselves more money. So is that right?
No.
Correct.
No.
Okay. And then with regards to on the operational side, you are buying in outside services to try and understand more about, for each company, more about each of their assets. Right, and you're still going to have to set budgets. You're still going to have to work out what you're capable of delivering, I said, they're both still on a tight budget. So can you? I think it's worth maybe should we deal with Consolidated first and try and understand what you're thinking?
Yeah, sure. So the next move in Consolidated is to basically advance our drill program this summer in Golden Ivan. So we use Apex. Apex is a great company. We worked with them last year. We released about a month ago pretty promising sampling study and discovered a couple of new gold zones on the property that hadn't been discovered before, and these were like 2 different sampling zones, both with 15, 16 grams per ton. Pretty impressive. Apex was impressed, and to impress those guys, it takes a lot because they've been around. So that was good. The property's never been drilled. Our neighbor to the south, Strike Point, is literally drilled on the border and had some of their best intercepts. So we're pretty bullish about what we could find there. And we'll look to get in there and do an initial drill program this summer, and then we'll see where it goes from there. And then obviously Chile, we've got some great assets in Chile, and they're basically drill ready again. And I have to say that obviously as copper gets more and more intense, Chile becomes more and more attractive because of the obvious loads of copper there, half the world it seems. But we're sort of on the sidelines, just waiting for the constitutional debate to be finalized, and that's supposed to happen in August. We're in the sidelines for a couple of reasons. One is it's a super risky business, mining, and so why add more political risk if you don't have to? Like, we have other assets that are really good, Nisk and Golden Ivan, that we can focus our energy and limited capital on, so that we don't need to take the risk of Chile right now. Everyone's got different views on what that risk might be, but for us, it's an unnecessary risk relative to our scarce capital. So we're just going to wait until the fall, and we expect the Constitution to be approved in August, and we'll see what that impact it has on the economics of exploration in Chile. I suspect it won't be severe. I think that'll still make sense for them to keep. I think if you're operating in Chile, you'll pay higher royalties. But I don't think it would be impactful to us. But nonetheless, prudence suggests that we put our money in Canada for now.
Right. Okay. And just for people who are perhaps not aware of the kind of the situation there in Chile, just describe what the debate is and what people are waiting for with regards to the Constitution.
Yeah. So basically, the new president of Chile is an advocate for a more progressive, almost what we would consider like a Western, like U.S. or Canadian style income tax approach, and a more more broader tax distribution. Chile is very hierarchical. There's a lot of wealth at the top, and while it's the most well off of all South American countries, the people could still be better off, and they obviously want better things for themselves and their children. So what we're seeing is his approach is to sort of tax the wealthy and to tax the companies more, and then spread the wealth in theory to the people. I mean, great on paper, but there's a point where you can do some of that and it makes sense, and then there's a point where you break things. So we hope that he manages that task well and can make things fairer for the Chilean people without breaking the success story of Chile, because Chile is the best spot to, if you're in South America. It's a pretty great spot relative to the rest of the countries in terms of how they're run and whatnot. So we hope that they keep the good and don't and improve on it, and don't go Venezuelan on us.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think there's a lot of people waiting, saying there's lots of different views about what that could look like. We'll wait to see what the actual outcome is. The plan of arrangement, sorry, that's a relatively simple process, not too costly. It's not too much of a distraction for you, is it? Yeah, I mean, basically, what we were trying to do it last year, but because it's a fairly old company, the actual Power Nickel, before it was Chilean Metals and International PDX was sort of the initial name. So paid up capital became a thing that we had to figure out. It's just a sort of a technical process that we had to go through, and honestly, we needed to go back
into the microfiches to find things that. So by the time we sort of got that all sorted out, which we eventually did, it was quite late in the year, and the accountant said to us, "Look, this will be so much cheaper if we do it after next year's financial statements are done." So given the state of the junior market at the time, we thought, hey, let's save some money, let's roll it out next. And so we'll come out as sort of a new pubco probably in the fall of Q3, and then we'll also have drill results at that time. So
gotcha. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to Canada, okay? Because that's where the bulk of your money and time's going. That's what I'm trying to understand. So low in cash at the moment. Does that suggest there's going to be a raise soon, or are you going to wait for more of these drill results to come out? And can you get through to the resource update? Is I guess where I'm getting to.
Yes, we're definitely going to be able to get through the resource update.
Okay.
Yeah. So our whole thing is we're not doing anything down here. I've been offered tons of money down here, and I said no. So we think that we're going to get this news out, and that's going to change the direction of the stock, and it'll also bring a warrant money in, so it'll take any immediate pressure off. I mean, eventually we're going to raise money for sure, but it's probably, our last raise, just so folks know, was at 25 cents hard, 40 cents flow through, and I would think we'd be looking to double that. That would be the objective. So when it gets in that range, then we'll probably do a flow through. So, but right now there's no need.
Right. I mean, what you want and what you get is two different things, right? So it's if you do the resource update, which you're financed to get through to do, what do you think that needs to look like for the market to react? Because it's waiting for a reaction.
I think honestly, if we just validate what we have and add to that, I mean, theoretically, the historical resource is around 3 million tons of 1.7% nickel EQ. If we validate that and move to 4 or somewhere towards that, then they're going to see that as a very positive sign. These nickel sulfate deposits, as you know, are very rare. And what's neat about them is they tend to come in pods. So if you have like one resource, where you're working, there's probably others around. And so we've started to sort of see that. And so I think, it's quite bullish in that respect. So I think if we get to 4, and then people start to do the math of, and the way we look at things is, nickel in the ground, what's your market cap per pound of nickel in the ground? And we're definitely the cheapest, I would say company with a resource out there by a lot. And that's going to change.
Sure, absolutely. On that metric, but the other metric they really go for is scale, right? Because again, with these nickel sulfides in Canada, people are looking for big scale, multi-decade, multi-cycle type size of operations, and yours is high grade, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's really 2 types of deposits, right? There's the massive. Low grade, bulk tonnage deposits like the Canada Nickel, Giga Metals, people like that. And then there's the, high grade nickel sulfate, which is, anywhere from 10 to 50 million tons. Chilean Metals would be the most obvious one to point at there, and then hopefully ourselves. But, so both are put in play. The Chilean Metal type deposits, honestly, are a lot easier to finance, a lot easier to get. The IRR is going to be much. It's like a $200 million, $250 million package to get it up and running, and then you're making like $200 million a year. So it's a pretty interesting payback for the developers, and I think those ones will probably come to the table quicker. The other projects are. They're obviously massive and it'll last for forever, but it's $1 billion plus. And it's like, nickel's gone from $5 to $12 in 1 year. So what price do you use for nickel? Because you're not getting that baby paid back in a year. That's going to take you many years, and it's going to be there forever. And it'll be a super return over time. And I think these things will get built this cycle, but it's going to take massive industry participation to the scale that we haven't seen before. Like we're going to have to see, the Teslas and VWs of the world step in and write a big check and become a part owner of a nickel mine. But I think that's going to happen. But I don't think they have to do it for Power Nickel or for Chilean Metals, because 200 million is a very doable number. But $1.5 billion, Yeah, I mean that's a big number for, especially when these guys are, some of them are like trading for 40, 50 million. I mean, how do you make the math work? It's a difficult number, and yet those deposits probably deserve to be built, but it's sort of mind-numbing to think about how it can be put together. But anyway, that's the challenge of the sector, right?
Well, that is the challenge of the sector, and there's going to be lots of creative structured finance coming, I suspect. But it's more interesting to me down to these sort of lower ends in terms of where the market caps are today, in terms of how they pick their way, the path forward to even get themselves in a position to have discussions with strategics, whether it be automotive manufacturers or a BHP, etc. Because it's a real art to it, and that's why I'm sort of intrigued, and that's why I'm sort of keep asking these questions of how you see it going forward. So, so Canada's the focus. Clearly, you want us to your peer that you were looking at is Chilean Metals as a comp to the type of ore body that you're looking at. The resource drilling that you're doing at the moment, is this just confirmational of the 2006? Resource, and is that sort of twin drilling, or infill drilling, or are we seeing an expansion drilling?
Yeah, so they're very much so a very much development stage step out drilling. So 25, 50 meters away from past drill holes so that we can confirm them. And very much designed, our first priority was to be able to, publish a new 43-101. And so that's what we're going to be able to do. Second objective was to show extension of the ore body. So in our first release on it, we showed a 150 meter extension in one direction, which is connected back to the ore body, which is very important from a mine development perspective. So we're quite thrilled with that. I think we're going to be able to accomplish both our objectives with this very small initial drill program. But our mission was, nobody really knows, this is really our coming out story for Power Nickel, where people will start to say, well, I didn't even know about this deposit, and they'll say, wow, that looks like a pretty good deposit, let's get into it more and do some more due diligence and more discovery. And then the more they look at it, they'll find, like we did, the holy cow, this thing has got some real legs, and it could definitely get to 10 million tons north, and if we get lucky and have some other pods, a lot more, so that was one of the things that was most interesting when we acquired this, is we felt it had a ton of optionality on it. So the optionality was, you had your existing resource that you looked like you could expand, so that was good. Then it looked like there could be several pods around, so that could be great. And then, the neat thing about these nickel sulfate deposits globally is that every now and again, they actually were halos over a big VMS. So we haven't really done any deep stuff here. But hey, could there be a Voisey's Bay underneath there? Well, let's pray. I'm not saying there is, but the neat part about, from an optionality perspective, is we can test that out without any huge cost for us. So it really, we can this thing can be a 20, 30 bagger just doing what we're doing. But if we are able to clip something deep, who knows? So that's what we love. That's why people get invested in junior mining.
It is the sex and the violence, as we say. So just again, back on the drilling. So you were doing what type of drilling in terms of meterage? What's the cost?
So basically about from 100 meters to 300 meters.
Got it. Okay. So what's the cost?
Most of the historical drilling was about 100 meters. So that's the other good thing about this deposit, is that it starts at about 80 meters, and at this point goes down to about 300 meters. So so very much like an initial. Again, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but you could definitely open pit this thing to start it off, which would be a great economic way to kickstart your returns. So that's attractive.
Okay, that is attractive. So what's it costing you per meter?
In terms of drilling?
Yeah.
It basically all in about $40. So we drilled $400. Yeah. So all in. Yeah.
Sorry, 40 or 400?
So we yeah. Assays and the whole bit.
So 400 all in.
Yeah.
Got it. That's up there. Why is it so expensive? That feels expensive.
I guess, it depends on what everyone rolls into all in. So that's all of the consultants, all of everything. So that's the full program, the full Monty. when and it's probably less than that. It's probably maybe it's 350 or something like that, but it's in that magnitude. We spent about $1 million and drilled about 2,500 feet over this last. So that roughly gets you the 400.
Okay. Just let's finish off with just to give people a bit of background on you, as in, what have you done that's relevant to driving a company like this forward, and maybe introduce some of the other people on the team.
I've really, been a financier, most of my life. I'm not a mining guy per se in terms of, geologist or engineer. I came in to help a friend out with Chilean Metals 10 years ago, and we jokingly both say the best thing I could have done was to hang up the phone on him, because he would have sold his stock, taken his loss, and I wouldn't have invested all this money and been waiting for 10 years to get a return. So nonetheless, we got into it because we thought the Chilean assets were attractive. And we still do. And anyway, we've stuck with it. And the board is, my board has been with me pretty much that period of time. Greg McKenzie used to be MD at Haywood. Greg runs a silver mining company now, so experienced guy. Our chairman is a retired lawyer, very experienced corporate lawyer, which is always good to have on a board. And Les is a very successful businessman, so we've worked together well as a team. We've kept it light, kept it survivable to eventually find our way to create value, and that's why we were lucky, through our relationships to be able to get Golden Ivan, which we haven't talked about, and Nisk. And it was the relationships that enabled that to happen, because people know that we're sort of honest practitioners that will get the money in and put it in the ground and make it go of it, so as a result you can get good assets and work them, and then of course, as always, Mother Earth needs to cooperate. You need to at some point not only have good science, but you have to have good luck. So we think we're hopefully going to head to that intersection now, but that's what we're doing. I mean, I've raised a lot of money. My biotech deal that I was a co-founder of, we raised $100 million last year. So I know my way around the capital markets. People are accessible to me. So if we have a good deal, we'll get the money for it, and we'll get fairly valued. I'm confident. But we've focused first on, let's make sure we have the evidence for people, because we felt there's no point making pounding the table about how great we are until we can really show it with scientific proof, and that's the drilling results and ultimately the updated 43-101. Then we're going to start pounding the table, because I can tell you we're super cheap relative to the nickel complex that's out there, and the market wouldn't let that stay for long, especially if they feel that this is in a good sector with a team that's going to bring it forward. So I think we're in a good spot.
Just remind me the timing for the delivery of the updated resources when?
Yeah, we're basically told early Q2. I mean, the good news is the 3DGO, who did model our exploration program for us in our QC, they're the guys doing the updated 43-101. So they've already done all the pre-work. So this is not like, somebody's got to come in so these guys have been intimately involved every step of the way, and we'll continue to use these guys. And that's that relationship was thankfully there because of Critical Elements and JS is very tight with Kenneth, and they've worked together on the critical deposits. So these guys had domain expertise in the terrain we're working on. So that's so important. You can get consulting engineers and geologists who are, obviously it's a portable skill, but when you get somebody that has actually worked in the land, in the area that you're working in, so much more valuable, right? It just makes it so much better. So they did a great job in the modeling. And like we told people through the drill program, the rock that you're looking for, that we're looking for, is a black peridot rock. Okay, it's very distinctive visually. So we've told people that on all of our drill holes we hit the black rock in that we're targeting, in widths equal to or greater than what we had historically. Now, will the assays be there or not? Well, that's, again, we're just step out the holes, so it shouldn't be that different, but we'll see. But I mean, I'm not Nostradamus. I can't predict what the assays are going to be, but we're hopeful. But we do know that we found what the target rock. And so that's very encouraging. And that's all, I think, due to 3D geos. Really, this is the first time this deposit was ever 3D modeled. And it was really interesting to sort of see that. New technology, not new, obviously it's been around for a while, but new technology for this deposit and how that really helps us rethink it. And I think it'll help the market see it in a different light. So it's exciting.
It is exciting, Terry. Look, I appreciate you coming on, telling us the story. I'm looking forward to the resource update, timing, early Q2. And hopefully it is what you say, then hopefully people start paying attention. Appreciate your time.
Let's hope. Thank you so much for having us. Cheers.